Nowadays, when people hear that there's been a catastrophic fire, they think about California with its wildfires every summer, or when the Amazon was burning down, or the Australian bushfires. The fires in California are usually caused by natural reasons, such as the state being in a drought, but other times it's caused by people doing gender reveal parties. But even these aren't the biggest fires that have happened in U.S. history. The Great Chicago Fire happened in 1871 and had 300 casualties. The fire is claimed to have started at about 8:30 p.m. on October 8th, in or around a small barn belonging to the O'Leary family that bordered the alley behind Decavin Street. The shed next to the barn was the first building to be consumed by the fire. City officials never determined the cause of the blaze, but the rapid spread of the fire, due to a long drought in that year's summer, strong winds from the southwest, and the rapid deconstruction of the water pumping system, explained the extensive damage of the mainly wooden city structures. The most popular tale blames Mrs. O'Leary's cow, who allegedly knocked over a lantern. Others state that a group of men were gambling inside the barn and knocked over a lantern. More than 2/3 of the structures in Chicago at the time of the fire were made entirely of wood, with most of the houses and buildings being topped with highly combustible tar or shingle roofs. All of the city sidewalks and many roads were also made of wood. The city of Chicago also received only 1 inch of rain, causing severe drought-like conditions. There were also strong winds coming from the southwest. The initial response by the fire department was timely, but due to an error by the watchman Matthias Schaffer, the firefighters were initially sent to the wrong place, allowing the fire to grow unchecked. An alarm sent from the area near the fire also failed to register at the courthouse where the fire watchmen were. When firefighters finally arrived at the Decavin Street, the fire had grown and spread to neighboring buildings and was progressing toward the central business district. Firefighters had hoped that the south branch of the Chicago River and an area that had previously thoroughly burned would act as a natural fire break. All along the river, however, were lumber yards, warehouses, coal yards, and barges, and numerous bridges across the river. Around midnight, flaming debris blew across the river and landed on roofs and the Southside Gasworks. When the courthouse caught fire, the mayor ordered the building to be evacuated and the prisoners jailed in the basement to be released. At 2:30 a.m. on the 9th, cupola of the courthouse collapsed, sending the great bell crashing down. As more buildings succumbed to the flames, a major contributing factor to the fire spread was a meteorological phenomenon known as a fire whirl. As hot air rises and comes into contact with cooler air, it makes tornado-like phenomenon called fire whirls. These fire whirls are likely what drove flaming debris high and far. The debris was blown across the main branch of the Chicago River to a railroad car carrying kerosene. The fire had jumped the river a second time and was now raging the north side of the city. Once the fire had ended, the smoldering remains were still too hot for a survey of the damage to be completed for many days. Eventually, the city determined that the fire destroyed an area about 4 miles long and averaging 3/4 mile wide, encompassing an area of more than 2,000 acres. Destroyed were more than 73 miles of road, 120 miles of sidewalk, 2,000 lampposts, 17,500 buildings, and $222 million in property. Even though there's no confirmed start to this historic blaze, people should understand the circumstances that helped to create the environment in which it did start and to be very careful with fire and fire-related objects, such as lighters and candles. Even the most essential of elements can become the most deadly. This is Charlie Reeves for CVM 320, signing off.